my name is Danny Harris. I'm one of the internal medicine trained critical care fellows here in the Emory Department of Medicine. This is Chris.
I'm Chris Creel. I'm actually emergency medicine trained by background, and I'm a current anesthesia critical care medicine fellow.
And so, although we're in different, technically different critical care programs, we work together a lot. We've known each other since day one of fellowship, actually a fun story, but we've known each other since day one of fellowship. We have a lot of our didactics together, and we really work together as a team, not just between the two of us, but really between our departments in general. But Chris, I know it can be intimidating to start fellowship in general, but especially if you're coming from somewhere else, moving to a new city like Atlanta. So tell me a little bit about what it's like a typical day, like on your main unit, the CVICU, and tell me also what that relationship's like with your faculty.
Yeah, so there's a lot of similarities between the CVICU and any other ICU. We try to round in the morning. We try to be as efficient as possible between disciplines. I love our multidisciplinary and multi-professional rounds. We include nutrition. We have amazing pharmacists, which we discussed add to our learning and education experience every day. We round with our CT surgeons as well as our thoracic surgeons, and then our transplant and acute lung disease colleagues.
And my experience in our medical intensive care units, although different, is really the same. Everybody works very well together. There's a big multidisciplinary team. Everybody is equally participating and involved, and it's a lot of fun to work in those types of units. And then what's the faculty relationship like in your ICU in particular?
So within our critical care medicine faculty, our faculty is not only very young, innovative, and approachable, but have a lot of wisdom and expertise. Mm-hmm. I've also found, even just through rounding with our colleagues, whether it's from a medical or surgical background, that same approachability and interest, not just in patient care and outcomes, is shared, but they also really care about my experience and our experience in learning education as fellows. So actually some of my mentors and people that I approach clinically, whether it's not for official consults or unofficial consults, are actually as a result of these rounds and my interaction with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you got to make friends. You know, you make friends. You're my ECMO friend. You know, I'm your medicine friend, right? And so you make friends as exactly. You make friends as you kind of work around through different units, and really build a strong network. And I really want to highlight one of the things that you said, because I was nervous coming to fellowship because I felt I trained at a pretty small hospital, and I was nervous about doing things like procedures, airway issues, stuff that I just didn't have a lot of experience with. And I was completely blown away with how approachable the faculty are. And if you don't know how to do something, all you gotta do is ask, and it's not gonna be a big deal. And there's always somebody there to support you, whether that's fellow to fellow support or that's fellow to faculty support. It's really a wonderful thing, and I feel much more at ease after I got here and I realized that I wasn't gonna be left hanging out to dry. I wasn't gonna be on my own. I was always gonna have some level of support, and it's a really good feeling. But kind of going back, I know you work a lot on the CVICU. That is our ECMO unit. And I know a lot of people are going to be interested in ECMO and the ECMO program. Me too. What is the ECMO program like? I'm talking about like volume. What's your level of involvement? And really, what's it like to go on a cannulation and bring somebody from another hospital back to one of our Emory systems?
It can be an experience. Sometimes fun, sometimes...
Of course.
Our ECMO program, at least currently, the last numbers that I had looked at, we have cannulated just in this calendar year starting in January through, I believe, the end of July. We had 75 cannulations, which is not really a shoddy number compared to other major ECMO centers across the country, in both coast and then in the Midwest as well. Transport, whether that's with a remote cannulation or not, we've had around 45 to I believe almost 50. I actually just completed one early this morning.
That's awesome.
It's a pretty incredible experience. I think it's one of the most unique things about our program. It's one of the things that cited my interest in this program.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's this calendar year. So this is August now. So just in 8 months or so, you've done about 75 cannulations. That's incredible. As CCM fellows, we rotate at a bunch of different units, and not only different units, but different hospitals within the Atlanta system as well. So some of those hospitals are kind of under the Emory label. Some of those hospitals are under different labels, like for example, Grady Memorial Hospital, which is really our large kind of safety net public funded hospital. We also work some over at our VA. But tell me about what it's like to work at these different units. What are the pros and cons of kind of bouncing around a little bit and from hospital to hospital and unit to unit? What do you like? What do you don't like about that?
Yeah, so I think some of the challenges having trained at a center where I was at one main medical center and I was able to get the transplant, coronary referral, but also safety net, trauma, interventional radiology type exposure, and a vast degree of like patient presentations, clinical demographics, and disease.
Right.
I was a little concerned about doing that and being at what seemed to be a lot more medical centers compared to one. When you're in as one, that's easy to be intimidated. I found that it's more beneficial than anything else. I found that I have learned different nuances about running a unit, organizational things, QI, things with respect to EMR, and then just small anecdotal things with the way we approach different problem systems, both as a team and as individual clinicians. I think the patient populations in every hospital that we rotate has its own personality, has its own kind of clinical demographics, and they also have their own specialty. So I think some of the benefits of having the transplant exposure and extracorporeal support here are very different than some of the neurointerventional stroke, trauma, and then some, honestly, the advanced medical disease and disease burden that we see at Grady. But I found them to really complement each other and to make a very holistic learning experience as a fellow.
And I completely agree with you. You know, when you show up to a new hospital or to a new unit, even, there's always a couple of weeks of maybe like some growing pains, and you don't know where stuff is, and you haven't learned people's names yet. You don't maybe know the attendings there, don't know the residents there, and there's always a little bit of like a little growing pain period. Definitely. But it ends up working out, and it ends up being very beneficial to see how different units run. Some things you like about maybe a particular unit or you don't like about a particular unit, you can really take that and move forward with the kind of clinician that you want to be. And I found that to be very beneficial to go to these different hospitals and really have that breadth of experience, what it's like working private hospitals, public funded hospitals, and again, like you said, the different personality and the different really specialties and expertise that you can find at the different locations. Changing gears just a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about what the educational conferences are like, both formal and informal, both required and not required? What's the kind of the educational program look like here at Emory for critical care medicine?
Yeah. So the AC, or after COVID, did change a bit of our format. We now use smaller in-person conferences, and then we also have a component that's on Zoom. We have our mandatory multidisciplinary critical care sessions and conference didactics that are on Thursday afternoons. And so that's a chance for at least some of us in smaller groups to get together and to learn together, but it also provides some of the flexibility, as we were actually talking about before we came on, as far as being able to be in our respective units at other locations, being a support for our faculty and our residents, but also being able to learn remotely and engage and participate there. There's a ton of other conferences. Neurocritical care has their own special didactics. It's just, once a week. And then there's pulmonary transplant conference, surgical ICU and ECMO have their own conferences. And so there's an ability to participate in those as much as you'd like or as much as you're able to also kind of expand on your education and build on some of the other subspecialties within critical care medicine.
Right, and I agree. It's a very free and almost like open access kind of environment.
That's great.
You can pop into neuro conference if you want to. You can pop into pulmonary conference if you want to. Pop into ECMO conference if you want to. It's great. And honestly, now that we've gotten used to using Zoom or some of these other platforms, it's really easy to engage in some of these conferences that maybe if you were down at Grady or at some of our remote hospitals, you might not be able to as easily participate in. It's very cool. You can just unplug from the unit for a minute and plug into a conference, and you really still feel like you're still there and able to support the unit, but really be a part of the educational conference too. It's really neat, and I think that's one of the kind of the hidden benefits of moving to more of this virtual platform. It's pretty cool that we kind of get to. I feel like I really get to participate more in conferences. As crazy as that sounds, it's really one of those things that's kind of worked out pretty well. So maybe some personal questions now.
Okay.
How do you like Atlanta? And what are some of the things that you're able to do? Do you feel like you have enough time for research and other interests inside of medicine, outside of medicine? Do you feel like you have enough time for your family? And honestly, what's your general kind of work-life balance?
Yeah. I think there's a great promotion for like holistic, work-life balance and wellness here. I've appreciated that amongst the female faculty and amongst the critical care faculty within their respective specialties, and that's something I've really appreciated, and that's unique to where I came from as well, but I don't think that's necessarily common everywhere.
Right.
Atlanta's a great city. There is enough suburban housing options, outdoor retreat and getaways that you can kind of explore and distance yourself from the hospital, have a little time with nature, but then we also have the benefits of some of the urban food, resources, shows, and things like that that come from living in a larger city.
That's right. And also, the airport's here is a major hub, I think one of the busiest in the United States, if not the world. A lot of travel in and out of here. It's easy to hop flights to different places, although more challenging right now because of COVID, but easy to travel from Atlanta. But there's also very local things as well. You mentioned some of the outdoor stuff. There's a ton to do around here. Lots of great hiking just a few minutes away. You can get up to the mountains in Georgia. The trailhead for the Appalachian Trail is just a hop, skip, and a jump from here, and it's pretty cool to get up in the mountains. Not far away. You can make a weekend of it. It's a lot of fun.
It's awesome. Even the beach. I was surprised how close we have beach. It's a quick drive. You can do a weekend. We did that a few weekends ago, and it was probably one of the best things we could have done.
That's awesome. So, Chris, what are you thinking? What are you thinking next? Where are you headed after Emory?
Well, it's a little early in the year, so still trying to figure that out. Likely looking at a dual faculty type position, and I think one of the things that I've appreciated the most and wouldn't mind sticking around for, honestly, would be a little more involvement with the expansion of an ECMO program, whether that's ours here in-house or somewhere else. And then just ECMO education in general and medical education with respect to like traumatic and medical resuscitation. I think it's going to be where I land long term.
I love it. I love medical education too. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great learners here. There's a lot of great opportunities to teach and learn yourself, and that's a lot of fun. I'm actually active duty in the Army, so I'll be heading back to the Army after my fellowship here. It's been great training. I've loved it, loved every minute. It's been really the most fun that I've had in all of my medical training. Not just being able to learn myself, but being able to teach others and being able to lead some as well. And a ton of fun. Chris, where can I find you on social media?
So I am located on Twitter, thanks to a lot of my colleagues. I was not up until a few months ago. So at CritCreelMD.
Awesome Twitter handle, by the way.
Thanks. I had some help from our friends. I believe you're on there as well.
Yeah. I'm at Danny G. Harris 1. Mine's not as cool as yours.
People know who you are, though.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you guys around, and best of luck on the interview trail.
Bye.
Bye.